Hello, hello, hello. This is June month in review. Ty from Par Pundits is here as he is every month making his appearance on the channel. Say hello, Ty.
How's it going, everybody?
Good. I'm doing good. I'm on going on hour three of talking about Orlando City tonight. So there could be way worse things to be going on. June was a short month, only 4 games, 2 cup games and 2 MLS games. I think we should talk about them separately just because they're kind of separate things. So we'll talk about the cup games first, and then we'll talk about the MLS games. Since it's such a short month and since we have such big news with Coach Heath getting fired, you will get my hot take and Ty's hot take on Coach Heath at the end. So that's just how this one's going to go with only the 4 games and the big news tonight. I think that that's probably a pretty good video for you guys. Anyway, so the cup games, we won the first one in Jacksonville, 1-0. Mateo scored, which is awestruck, almost as awe-striking as Coach Heath getting fired to me. So, Mateus is not fleet of foot and not really a dangerous offensive weapon ever, really, in my opinion. The game was pretty back and forth, as I recall. I don't think that was our most spectacular game, but it definitely wasn't our worst game. I mean, it looked like the guys were out there trying to fight, and we played a maybe I'll call it a 50-50 lineup for that game. It definitely wasn't a full 11. So I think getting out of Jacksonville and getting the revenge win since we lost to them in the preseason was nice. Ty, what do you think about the Jacksonville Open Cup game?
I think the U.S. Open Cup in general is a very, very tricky piece because when you're in the earlier rounds playing the NASL teams or the USL teams in some scenarios, you want to rest a lot of your guys. You want to be able to have everybody healthy for the MLS match because those are the most important. But however, you still have to fill a quality enough lineup to be able to go in there and get results. And it's not always easily traveling to, another NASL team in Florida, for example, because those guys, this is like the premier matchup for them. Orlando City's coming to town, the big MLS team in the Southeast, and they want to get a result just as bad as we need a result because as everybody knows, the U.S. Open Cup was a really big priority for us this season. We wanted to do well. We wanted to get far and hopefully win to give birth to the Champions League. We'll talk about Fort Lauderdale in a few minutes. When it comes back to Jacksonville, we didn't play a bad game. We played all right. It was, like you said, it was a pretty back and forth game. Mateos got the job done. And that's what we had to do in that match. We had to go in there and get the job done. We were able to see Torino get in a full shift. Batista got to play, a fair portion, and we did see some starters in there as well. So it was a good match for everybody to get their legs moving, especially some of the reserves who haven't seen time lately. And we got the win, and that's what we needed to do. So yeah, we got the job done there.
And just my final thought on Jacksonville is, man, that ball Harrison Heath streamed from corner almost to the whole other corner to Baptista was beautiful. And it didn't make anything of it, but I thought that was just a beautiful play. Anyway, that just stands out to me in my head. I don't know why. The other game was Fort Lauderdale, and I was probably one of the 1,000 in attendance. In Fort Lauderdale, I've seen Orlando City play worse and get better results than we did against Fort Lauderdale. Unfortunately, we lost. I feel like we got snake bitten at the end when on the counter when they scored. I was trying to figure out who was going to be taking our penalties because I was so assured that we were going to penalties. I'm trying to sit down. I'm like, all right, Shea's going to take one, and Laren's on, so he's going to take one, and then Winter's on, I think, and then he's going to take one, and then I'm like, okay, so who is going to take these last 2 penalties? Because and then it didn't get to penalties, and I was like, oh, and then but I mean, we looked lively against Fort Lauderdale. I thought Breck Shea looked particularly lively, even though he was supposed to be in a defensive role. He was in a more attacking role. When we went down to 10 men, everything kind of changed. Molino's goal was very nice. Molino's right hook, that was very nice. Idiot, but very nice. So, I mean, trying to find the best of a bad situation here. And I have seen the team play worse and get better results. So it was just unfortunate that Fort Lauderdale beat us. I also thought Fort Lauderdale's back line looked really good in comparison to some of the back line play I've seen recently. So that's my takes on Fort Lauderdale type.
It's again, it goes back to the same scenario we're talking about against Jacksonville. You have a in-state team who's in a lower league coming in and playing the big MLS guys, and they're going to come in and do what they can to get a result. And I give Fort Lauderdale all the credit in the world because in the second half, they weathered the storm, they figured it out, and they were able to get a result. I mean, let's talk about the end of the game. The display by the coaching staff was absolutely disgraceful by Fort Lauderdale. In my opinion, they ran on the field waving their arms. You know, their celebration was harder than Germany's when they won the World Cup. I just thought that was a pretty bad display in my opinion. But back to the game itself, Orlando City had, if I'm not mistaken, 20 shots in the second half and extra time combined. Fort Lauderdale had one, and that one went in, and they won off of that. When you produce 20 shots on goal, you have to put one in. I mean, it is what it is. Molino scored early in the game on a beautiful run, by the way. He did a pretty stupid thing and punched the dude in the face with that beautiful right hook we were just talking about. He got sent off for it. So, you know, going back to the second half, we had every opportunity to win that game. There is no question about it. We should have won it, but we didn't. And I think that this game had a lot to do with, Heath ultimately being let go. Obviously, there's a lot more going into it than just this one match, but I think people have to understand, fans in general, that this club is doing whatever it can to build a global brand for itself. And a good start to that is being able to make yourself get yourself into the Champions League and start playing some different talent from different areas. Now, it's not always easy to win the Supporters Shield or win the MLS Cup or the other scenario to get to the Champions League. So this is a good way to do it. The U.S. Open Cup is a good way to get yourself in there. Second straight year, we weren't able to get it done. We weren't able to make the semifinals. That gives ourselves a real chance. So, definitely not a game you wanted to lose. And especially when we put on such a good product on the pitch, and we were obviously the better team during the entire match. So, it was just a bad result.
And my only last take that you didn't talk about was I thought Haji Berry, you mentioned the 20 shots, and when you said that, I just distinctly remember Haji Berry missing so many of those. And I think that just goes to his raw ability is there, but he's just got to put the finishing touches on the final shot, on the final product. So anyway, 2 MLS games. We have a draw versus San Jose at home and a win versus Toronto at home. I was unable to attend San Jose at home. I was out of town for Father's Day. So, Ty, that one is on you.
San Jose was going to be a difficult match to begin with everything that happened with the Pulse shooting. There was so much going on in remembrance of the victims. There were a lot of tributes. And when the match started, you could just feel the emotion running through the entire stadium. I've never felt anything like it before. Stopping in the 49th minute to, pay respect to the victims was a really, I'm going to say, good moment. It was really nice that we were able to do that and remember all the victims. It's tough talking about the game itself because all the players, there, like I said, there was just a lot of emotion. We scored 2 goals. Again, we should have had the win, but we gave up one in the 94th, and that's that. And when you can't close out matches, we've done that quite a few times. The last month or so is giving up such late goals. When we look at the table and when we kind of put aside the emotions from the match, the team left with a 2-2 draw. It was another point game, and we could have had a better result.
All right, and since I talked first on the other 2, you can start on Toronto, and I'll pick up any kind of loose ends, I think, or however you want to put it, that you may miss.
Toronto again was it was a good game. We got the win. We got 3 points, which is what we desperately needed in that match. Kyle Larin goes. He scores very early on a good goal. And I felt that after Kyle Larin scored his goal, we had the opportunity to really do something with the match. I thought we had the opportunity, we had the energy and the enthusiasm to get out and get a really big win against Toronto. I think we could have had a 3 or 4-0 win. But instead, it came back down to the wire. We gave up another late goal. We got very lucky in the 100th minute when Baptista found a way to get pulled down in the box. And, we got a penalty. I thought it was somewhat of a weak penalty. I don't think they should have called that in the 100th minute. Kaká put it in, skidded off the post barely, but he put it in and we were able to get 3 points out of that match, which it was very important at the time. We needed to see some different type of result that was more positive than what we had been seeing. So, that was It was a good game. We really needed to follow it up and do something a little bit better against Dallas. That's in July. We'll talk about that. But, to end the month of June, we ended it on somewhat of a good note in MLS play with beating Toronto.
All right, I thought the Toronto game, I've been saying this a lot, and it's just like it was just a typical Orlando City game. We scored a goal, we gave up a goal late, back and forth, turnovers in the midfield, not closing people out defensively. I feel like a broken record because I've been saying this for we're in June, April, May, 3 months, 2 months. Can't close out a team defensively. Turnovers in the midfield. So that's just how I feel. Just a typical Orlando City game. But finally, a ball bounced our way, and we got the penalty. They didn't call it on the other end. I thought that he got pulled down in the box on the other end, and it didn't get called. So, I'm glad that if we finally got one to bounce our way. I mean, we're got to be close to the unluckiest team at this point. So anyway, but that's it. It was an okay month. I mean, when you get a win and a draw at home, that's fine with me in MLS play. U.S. Open Cup, everyone has their own opinion. Some people want to exceed. Some people don't want to play it because we need to be saving our minutes from our players for MLS. So however you feel about it is how you feel about it. I thought June was an okay month. So that's just my take. And overall, what's your feeling about June?
Again, it's an okay month, but we always go back to that. It's always, it was an all right month. We did good this month, but neither of us are yet to sit down and look at each other and say, oh my God, we just had just the best month. And the thing is we have the talent on the roster to do so. I think we actually have a very talented squad. Yeah, there's some holes in the defense. It looks like we're going to be bringing in another center back here, which will surely help. Tommy Redding has shown a little bit of him being young, so things to be expected. And I think we'll find a way to improve here in the transfer window. But with the talent we have on the squad and the ability we have on the squad, I think we should be having better results. Up until the game against Dallas, this was we might have been the only team to score in every single match, and that's a pretty big feat in my opinion. That's not easy to do, to score in every single match and not go 90 minutes without ever scoring a goal. So again, we've had the quality, we've had the ability, we've had the opportunity. We've just never took it and grabbed it and ran with it.
Yeah, I agree and disagree with you. I think we definitely have talent. I do not know what's going to go on in the window. I think this is going to be a wild ride of a window for us, just because of everything that's just happened. And at center back, the last 2 center backs we've brought in, we brought in Hines at the beginning of last year. We brought in Mateos in the window. Neither of them are playing good right now. So, I don't necessarily have faith in the ability of whoever's bringing in players right now to bring in a center back that's going to come in and contribute. I thought we missed on a pile of MLS veterans who, if we weren't in flux last window, we could have got an MLS veteran who we know could have been a steady foot. Now we're into the next window. We just fired Coach Heath, and we're about to be in flux in the front office again. And now not only do we not have a head coach, we don't have a GM. So it's like, I'll let you talk about Heath first. I don't know how you feel about it. I haven't talked to you off camera about it. I think everyone's probably going to be able to guess how I feel, but I'll conclude. So you can go first.
Obviously, this was it was a very tough decision for the Orlando City front office. There's absolutely no question about that. I mean, when you look at how the fan base reacted when Ian Fuller was let go before the season started, there was a lot of backlash just because of that. Now you fire the guy who, he was here first. He's brought a lot of passion and a lot of energy to the city. And one thing you can say about Coach Adrian Heath is there is nothing he loved more than Orlando City and the city of Orlando. And when you combine all that, this had to have been a tough decision for the front office. However, I personally think it needed to be done, and I'll elaborate on that a little bit. We're nearly halfway through the season. We're still in the hunt for the playoffs, and like I said, I think we have enough talent.
We're only out on goal differential right now.
Pardon me?
We're only out on goal differential right now.
Okay, like I said, we're still in the playoff race. I mean, we're still in the hunt. And keep in mind, this isn't the strongest Eastern Conference. So with the results we have, having so many draws are okay. I mean, you get a point out of it, you move on. But we certainly should have had more wins than what we have. And I think it's time to just get some fresh blood in there and see if we can, make a stronger push and try to finish in the playoff in the playoff picture once the season ends. So if you want to go off of that.
All right. Well, I disagree with you. I think it's a travesty that he was fired. I don't think that that's where you start a rebuild mid-season, because Keith's been here since the beginning. We coach his philosophy through the whole system. So it starts at the bottom. The kids in the youth system are learning that system. The players at OCB are playing that system. Our first team is playing that system. And then now you got a team, like Ty said, that's on the verge of the playoffs. We're only out on point differential. And you're going to say, boom, reset the system and expect a better result than what you're getting now. I'm not impressed with what we've gotten. And I was, in my opinion, which is just one of a fan, just like everybody who watches this. I'm not some kind of soccer great mind or genius, but the team sets out the expectation, let's make the playoffs. We missed last year. This year, they set out the expectation, let's make the playoffs. And we're in the hunt for the playoffs, and you're going to press the reset button. So why don't you let it go to the end of the season? You can see what happens. If you make the playoffs, you've met your goal. If you don't make the playoffs, then maybe it's time to reshuffle the cards. But when you're so close to the line and you're not in the I mean, the Dallas game was pitiful, but other than the Dallas game, our recent performances have not been that bad. Like Ty and I've just said, it was an okay June. We didn't lose a game at home in June other than the Open Cup. And, as far as making the playoffs goes, that doesn't have any impact on that goal. So to me, the firing is just, I'm not surprised, because, if you look at everything that's happened in the shuffle of the front office, who do you point the finger at? You can't fire all the players. So, it's, you got, and you're going to start taking heads, then obviously the coach goes first. But to me, the timing is just not the right, because now you're going to bring up the OCB coach Pullis, who's going to coach out for however long, let's call it, 8 weeks, we'll call it 5 weeks. They don't have somebody lined up as a head coach that's immediately ready to come in. And then you're going to possibly have a third head coach at the end of the season for the final playoff push, when you're almost in the playoffs now on July, whatever it is. What's today? Is the 7th. So that's my take. I just don't think the timing's right. I think you got to wait to the end of the season. And then towards the end of the season, if you're going to get somebody else in, then you have time to figure out who you're going to bring in. There's not going to be a big gap. You can get the new guy in. He can start getting his players in the next window, because now we're at the window just opens. We have needs, we have holes, and we don't know what system our next system is going to be. So that's just it's just. I mean, I'm very appreciative that Heath won the trophies, and and that he did everything that he's done for the club and the community and whatever else not positive things that he's done. But just as of right now, this minute, I don't think it was an appropriate firing.
So, and that's another point I wanted to make. And obviously, I did just say a few moments ago that I think a change might have been necessary, but I don't want to take away from anything that Adrian Heath has done for this team or this city, because the guy has been absolutely fantastic, and he's been so loved by this team and the fans and the supporters for a reason. I mean, he's a really good person. He's a good guy, and he's not a bad coach. That's not what I was saying. But I hold off on pushing the reset button. I don't know if we're really just going to push the reset button midseason. I know Fire think so, but I think Anthony Poulos coming in. And by the way, I think Coach Poulos is an absolute brilliant soccer mind. I think what he's done a very good job at OCB. Obviously, that's not MLS, so you can only compare it so much. But I think that he has a definite future as a manager. Who knows what he's going to do when he comes in here? I think it's like I said, I think it was just a little bit of time to get some fresh blood. So somebody has to be held accountable for some of the performance we've had. Like I said, we haven't lost a tremendous amount of games, but we haven't won a tremendous amount either. We're sitting here getting so many ties and draws. Dallas obviously was a pretty bad performance, losing 4-0. And like I said, I think the U.S. Open Cup played a little bit of tie in that. I think this team is desperate to get into the playoffs and eventually into the Champions League, as they really want to work on building that global brand. And they thought it was time to bring the club into maybe a little bit of a different direction. going into this past offseason, Heath made some personnel changes that were his decision. He was able to bring in Stuart Kerr, who he wanted. Bobby Murphy, he told me, during the offseason, he's been trying to get Bobby Murphy a part of his staff for quite a long time, many, many years. He was finally had the opportunity to do so. So he was able to bring in the staff that he wanted to bring in. He was able to run things a little bit more the way, where there wasn't so much of a front office pull in terms of personnel on the staff. So it just wasn't. It could have been better. I mean, we should have a lot more points than we do now, and I'll let you go off of that.
All right. Well, my first topic of discussion that I want to address about what you just said is that you think Anthony Poulos is doing a great job. I mean, OCB is 7th in the East, so like how great of a job, I mean, 7th and 7th. That's not even a playoff team in the USL.
Look what he's working with. It's not like he's not a Charleston Battery or a Rochester Rhinos. He's got a team of players who were brought in to be developed. These guys sitting in some of the pure USL teams who aren't affiliated with an MLS club ahead of them. I mean, these guys are trying to put food on the table for their families, where the younger guys at OCB, they're really just trying to develop. He's got a lot of young players. The first match of the season for OCB, I was sitting in the stands and I was absolutely stunned with what an organized brand of football that the team was playing, just being so young and so inexperienced. I think, you can only expect so much out of OCB. That's what Bulls will tell you. They'll all tell you that. The playoffs are – pardon me?
That's what it's there for, is to develop the players.
Yeah, the playoffs. I mean, the playoffs are nice, but that's not the overall goal of OCB. They want to develop players. So, given what Poulos has been given so far in terms of roster, I think he's done a phenomenal job personally.
I agree with you that they were organized the first game. I haven't watched OCB extensively, but I mean, if you're 7th, I'm not going to sit here and say, hey, I think you deserve a promotion because your team's in 7th to coach the MLS team. Like. It's just my opinion, but anyway, all right.
Well, like I said, it's an interim thing. It's an interim thing. We'll see what he does the next few games. Like I said, I don't think that he's going to be the head coach at the beginning of next season. I think they might hold him on now. We'll see how they decide to keep him and Bobby Murphy, at the helm throughout the playoffs. If we make it, I don't know. But, I don't think this is going to be a permanent thing for him. I was just saying, I was just complimenting him for the job. I think he's done pretty well so far at OCB.
All right. Well, if you got any other final takes on June or on Coach Heath?
Yeah, I mean, I do feel I feel really bad for the fan base, and I feel really bad for Heath because not many people really wanted this to happen. We all wanted Orlando City to be flourishing right now, be towards the top of the table, and really take advantage of the opportunities we've had. Some of the games that we played this season, we should have won. I mean, and we had a lot of chances to win. There were a lot of bad calls by refs, but at the end of the day, it's how the game goes. And like I said, I think we should be higher up in the table than where we are, and I think that the front office recognized that and they were looking to make a change.
I just don't think the timing is right. I guess it is what it is. I feel I don't know. I'm kind of, I'm awestruck is the word that initially hit me. I didn't think that this was going to happen. I understand it's a business, and I understand when you spend millions of dollars to buy into a franchise that you think is going to be a winner and you're not winning, something has to change. And I totally get it. And just me being the fan that I am, I didn't want to see Coach Heath get fired yet. I believed in the guy. I might be a homer and might be a loyalist, but it's my opinion. So, Coach Heath, thank you for everything. You're probably not going to watch this. Harrison might see it and pass it along, but as a Orlando City fan and supporter, I thoroughly appreciate everything that you've done. And I wish you the best. And if you ever want to come on Fan TV and analyze games, you're more than welcome. So there's always a spot for you on my team, Coach Heath. I'll leave it at that. Anyways, I'm Sam, Fan TV, OC Lions Fan _TV. You can see it right there. You can find Ty and all his wonderful articles at Par Pundits, and the Twitter is Par Pundits?
Par Pundits.
There we go. All right. So That's all for us, our month in review, and you got a little bit extra because it was a short month. So thank you guys. That's all for our time. Peace out.